Rewatching Game of Thrones used to be a no-brainer for fantasy fans, but in hindsight, some episodes are just too frustrating, disturbing, or disappointing to justify sitting through again. Whether it's due to poor storytelling choices, character assassinations, or scenes that crossed ethical lines, these 8 episodes drag the show down enough that they're best skipped entirely, especially when there's so much greatness elsewhere in the series. 1. High Sparrow, Season 5, Episode 3. Arya's arc goes nowhere. While the High Sparrow storyline was important in introducing one of the show's most manipulative villains, High Sparrow is a slow burn that doesn't reward the investment. Arya's scenes are particularly painful as she endlessly sweeps floors and gets beaten up by the waif with no real payoff. The episode also teases one of the most harrowing events in the series, Sansa's forced marriage to Ramsay Bolton, without providing the kind of tension or emotional payoff fans expected from her arc. 2. Breaker of Chains, Season 4, Episode 3, an unforgivable scene. While it follows the shocking purple wedding, this episode is infamous for one of the most upsetting moments in the entire series. Jaime Lannister sexually assaults Cersei beside the body of their dead son, Joffrey. The scene is deeply uncomfortable, tonally inconsistent with Jaime's redemption arc, and entirely unnecessary for the story. Even Daenerys' otherwise victorious march into Meereen feels like a repeat of previous triumphs. Despite the importance of the episode, it's one most fans would rather forget. 3. The Bells, Season 8, Episode 5. Character arcs destroyed in minutes. Few episodes damaged the legacy of Game of Thrones like The Bells. In one episode, Daenerys Targaryen goes from freedom fighter to genocidal tyrant with almost no warning. The term may have been foreshadowed, but it wasn't earned, and it destroyed one of the most beloved characters. Jaime Lannister's redemption is also undone as he returns to Cersei in a limp conclusion to their tangled saga. Add in botched military logic and rushed pacing, and it becomes clear why this episode is a must-skip. 4. The Long Night, Season 8, Episode 3. The White Walkers were a joke. Since Season 1, fans had been warned that winter is coming, but The Long Night resolved the thread of the White Walkers in just one overly dark, visually muddled episode. Jon Snow, Bran, and the Night King barely interact. Arya's surprise kill, while thrilling, felt disconnected from the narrative build-up. The battle logistics made little sense, and beloved characters either died pointlessly or miraculously survived. A climax to an 8-season arc should not be this forgettable. 5. The Last of the Starks, Season 8, Episode 4. Logic goes out the window. After the chaos of the Battle of Winterfell, this episode tries to reset the chessboard for the final conflict, but it does so with baffling logic. Rhaegal's death is completely unearned, with Euron Greyjoy somehow ambushing a dragon from miles away. Missandei's death also caused outrage, especially for how her character, a woman of color who began as a slave, was sidelined and ultimately discarded. The episode is full of questionable decisions that undermine both plot and representation. 6. Beyond the Wall, Season 7, Episode 6. Fantasy becomes farce. This could have been one of the most epic episodes of the series, a suicide mission to capture a white. Instead, it collapses under the weight of rushed pacing and absurd logistics. Gendry runs for help, ravens fly instantly across continents, and Daenerys arrives in record time to save everyone. Beyond the time-bending nonsense, the episode feels forced and undermines the intelligence of the characters. It's Game of Thrones at its most contrived. 7. Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken, Season 5, Episode 6. Trauma Without Purpose. This episode marked one of the most controversial moments in the show's history, the rape of Sansa Stark by Ramsay Bolton. While Game of Thrones was never shy about depicting violence, this scene crossed a line for many viewers as it felt exploitative and narratively pointless. It derailed Sansa's arc toward agency and subjected the character and audience to unnecessary trauma that served more to shock than to advance the story. It's an episode many fans have no interest in revisiting. 8. No One, Season 6, Episode 8. Arya's arc collapses. After a season full of build-up, Arya's confrontation with the waif is resolved in the most unearned way possible. The action takes place largely off-screen, and her miraculous survival after being stabbed repeatedly feels lazy and implausible. The Faceless Men's storyline fizzles out in this episode, ending a season-long arc with a whimper. It's a huge disappointment, especially for a character as beloved as Arya Stark. Final thoughts. Game of Thrones remains one of the most influential and unforgettable TV shows of all time, but even its most diehard fans know it had serious missteps. Skipping these 8 episodes won't ruin your rewatch. In fact, it might make it more enjoyable. By focusing on the show's high points, like Hard Home, The Winds of Winter, and Blackwater, you can relive the best of Westeros without being weighed down by the worst.